The hidden ledger. How the system owns you and how to take it back.
Forward, the lie of ownership.
They told us we were free.
They told us we had rights.
They told us this land, this home, this name was ours.
But what if that was never true?
What if the game was rigged long before we learned the rules, before we even entered the board?
Ownership today is the greatest illusion ever sold.
People think they own cars, homes, businesses, and even their own identity.
Yet, the moment you register anything, you've surrendered it to another jurisdiction.
The title isn't proof of ownership, it's proof of control by someone else.
Governments, banks, and courts all operate on one quiet principle. You don't own, you lease.
You don't hold, you borrow.
You don't command, you comply.
But beneath that illusion lies an older system, a lawful one, built on trusts, contracts, and sovereignty.
It still exists, but few are taught how it works.
This book isn't about rebellion.
It's about recognition.
Because once you see the architecture of deception, you stop fighting the shadows and start reclaiming the light.
Chapter 1. The Invisible Chains of the Financial System.
They didn't need to conquer us with guns.
They conquered us with paperwork.
Every system of control in the modern world runs through a simple mechanism, your consent.
But here's the trick. Consent doesn't have to be conscious.
If you don't know the rules, your silence and signature are enough.
The moment you were born, your parents unknowingly entered you into a financial contract.
That birth certificate, that friendly piece of paper, wasn't just proof of life.
It was a bond.
A registration into a corporate system that treats human beings as assets of value.
Behind the scenes, that certificate created what's called a corporate fiction, a strawman entity, usually represented by your name in all capital letters.
That entity operates in the public world of commerce and law, while the living man or woman, the real you, remains in the private realm.
The problem is, nobody told you the difference.
So you began signing everything, jobs, licenses, loans, as if that straw man was you.
From that moment, every contract, every signature, every agreement became evidence that you accept being treated as a corporate entity, subject to statutes and commercial law, not natural law.
This is how control happens in plain sight.
They don't need cages when they can build invisible chains made of ignorance and assumption.
The birth of the corporate human.
After 1933, when the U.S. government declared bankruptcy and turned citizens into collateral for national debt, the system quietly shifted from gold to credit, from real substance to paper promises.
The state needed security for its endless borrowing.
So every new birth became a new bond.
You were monetized before you took your first breath.
Today, everything from your social security number to your driver's license ties back to that bond system.
The people are the product, and the system runs on their productivity, their taxes, and their consent.
And yet, few stop to ask.
If we are the source of credit, why are we always in debt?
If our labor creates value, why do we keep signing it away?
Because the game is rigged around one rule. He who defines the terms owns the contract.
The hidden jurisdiction.
Every time you step into a courtroom, open a bank account, or sign a government form, you're operating in a world ruled by admiralty law, the law of commerce, the law of the sea.
It's not the same as the common law that once governed free men and women on the land.
In admiralty law, everything is commerce, and everyone is property.
That's why judges wear black robes, the color of trustees and executors.
That's why you appear in court not as yourself, but as the representative of your corporate fiction.
They ask, "Are you John Doe?" And most people say yes, not realizing they've just accepted liability for the trust they never created.
The true power isn't in saying no, it's in understanding who's being addressed and which jurisdiction applies.
The engine of control.
Look around. Banks, courts, corporations, and governments are all interconnected through one foundation, trust law.
Every entity is a trust structure operating under private agreements.
But the public is never taught this.
We're trained to be beneficiaries without rights instead of trustees with authority.
You were born with standing, but educated into servitude.
And here's the part most people miss.
The system doesn't hide anything.
It simply buries truth under paperwork and procedure.
The information is public, just coded in legalese so that only insiders understand it.
The invisible chains are words, signatures, and silence.
Every time you act without knowing the jurisdiction, you give away authority.
Freedom isn't about fighting the government.
It's about reclaiming your role as the executor of your own trust, the living being behind the name.
The path forward.
Step 1. Recognize the fiction.
Step 2. Learn the language.
Step 3. Stop acting as property.
Once you see the mechanism, how the system converts living energy into corporate value, you begin to walk differently.
You read differently. You sign differently.
They can't enslave what they can't define.
So learn to define yourself.
Because sovereignty doesn't start in a courtroom or a protest.
It starts the moment you say, I am not the name. I am the living man.
Chapter 2. Lawful money versus legal tender.
They say money makes the world go round.
But what they never tell you is, it's not money that spins the world.
It's debt.
What you hold in your hand, that dollar, that card, that number in your bank app, isn't money in the lawful sense.
It's legal tender, a promise to pay, not payment itself.
To most people, that sounds like a small difference.
But in law, that difference is the gap between freedom and bondage.
The great substitution.
Once upon a time, America's money was real, backed by substance, by labor, by metal you could hold and weigh.
Gold and silver were not just symbols of value, they were value.
Then, quietly, the government performed one of the greatest swaps in history.
They replaced lawful money with legal tender, a substitution so subtle that the public barely noticed.
In 1913, the Federal Reserve was born, a private banking system that gained control of the nation's credit supply.
And by 1933, gold was confiscated, and the people were told to trust paper instead of substance.
They gave us currency that looks like money, sounds like money, and moves like money, but legally it isn't.
It's debt, issued against the people's future productivity.
You went from being the holder of wealth to the guarantor of debt.
And that's when the entire system inverted.
The wordplay of control.
The elite never need to hide their methods.
They only need to redefine the words.
Look closely at the phrase legal tender for all debts, public and private.
It doesn't say lawful money.
It says legal tender.
In law, legal means permitted by statute, not by natural right.
Lawful, on the other hand, means compliant with higher law, truth, equity, and substance.
So the moment you accepted legal tender as money, you unknowingly entered a contract to operate within the public debt system, where every transaction adds to a ledger controlled by private bankers.
Every dollar is borrowed into existence.
Every credit creates an equal and opposite debt.
And because interest is charged on every loan, but no new money is created to pay that interest, there will always be more debt than money.
It's a mathematical guarantee of perpetual servitude.
The hidden promise.
Here's the part they never teach in school.
When Congress suspended the gold standard, it never repealed the lawful money clause under Title 12, Section 411 of the U.S. Code.
It still states,
Federal Reserve notes are redeemable in lawful money at the Treasury or at any Federal Reserve Bank.
That means the concept of lawful money never died. It was simply buried under bureaucratic procedure.
Most people don't know what lawful money means anymore, let alone how to redeem it.
But the law still acknowledges a separation between the two systems, one private, one public.
And that's the game.
The insiders play on the lawful side, dealing in trusts, credits, and exemptions, while the public stays trapped in the legal tender system, chasing paper that dissolves in value every year.
The engine of debt.
When you deposit money into a bank, It doesn't sit there waiting for you.
The bank legally owns your deposit the moment it's made.
Your balance is not a storage of funds. It's an IOU.
You are the creditor, but you act like the debtor.
And when you take out a loan, the bank doesn't lend you anything it owns.
It simply creates digits out of thin air, credit drawn against your future labor, your signature, and your consent.
That signature is everything.
It's your life energy turned into financial value.
The system needs your signature more than you need its money, because you are the source of credit.
They train you to beg for what you create.
Inflation, the silent tax.
You don't feel the chain around your neck because it's invisible. It's made of inflation.
Inflation isn't a rise in prices. It's a decrease in purchasing power caused by an ever-expanding supply of credit.
Every time new money is created without substance behind it, the value of your existing money falls.
Your labor buys less. Your savings shrink.
Your freedom erodes.
And who benefits?
Those closest to the source of issuance, the bankers, corporations, and governments who receive fresh credit before the public feels the cost.
It's the quietest wealth transfer in human history, and it happens every single day.
The forgotten remedy.
The lawful world and the legal world still coexist, one private, one public.
Lawful money is backed by substance, labor, trust, and equitable exchange.
Legal tender is backed by consent and signature, nothing more.
When you learn to operate in the private, you start to think differently.
You begin to structure your affairs through trusts, not accounts.
You move wealth, not currency.
You hold control, not possession.
Because the goal isn't to escape the system, it's to rise above it by learning its architecture.
The lesson.
Every crisis, every recession, every stimulus package is just another layer of the same story. People trading real value for promises printed by private hands.
And as long as they keep you believing that paper is power, you'll never question who holds the pen.
So the next time you look at a dollar, remember,
it's not what it's worth that matters.
It's what it represents, your consent to debt.
Withdraw the consent, and you begin to withdraw from the illusion.
Because the moment you stop playing their game, you start writing your own.
Chapter 3. The Game of Trusts.
If you want to understand power, don't look at politics.
Don't look at banks.
Don't even look at the courts.
Look at trusts.
Because behind every flag, every corporation, every government, and even your own legal identity, there's a trust.
It's the hidden architecture of ownership.
The structure that separates the rulers from the ruled, the controllers from the controlled.
And until you learn the game of trusts, you're not even on the board.
What is a trust, really?
Strip away the legal jargon, and a trust is simple.
It's a relationship, a separation between control, ownership, and benefit.
There are three main roles.
The grantor, the creator of the trust, who contributes the property.
The trustee, the manager, who holds and controls the property according to the rules of the trust.
The beneficiary, the one who receives the benefits from the property.
This triangle of roles forms the most powerful legal tool ever created.
Why? Because whoever controls without owning wins.
That's the key.
The wealthy and the powerful don't own assets. They control them through trusts.
They don't put their names on anything because ownership invites liability.
The public holds title.
The private holds power.
The system itself is a trust.
Everything you see from the United States government to the Vatican to multinational corporations is structured as a series of interconnected trusts.
The United States isn't a country in the traditional sense. It's a corporate trust, operating under charter, with you as a presumed beneficiary.
Your state is a subdivision of that trust.
Your city is a franchise.
And you, the citizen, are treated as the res, the property, of the trust, not the trustee.
That's why they can tax you, regulate you, and dictate your movements.
Because in their eyes, you are the asset being managed, not the manager of your own estate.
It's a game of status.
And the status you hold determines your power.
Public versus private.
There are two worlds running side by side, the public trust and the private trust.
The public trust is where everyone operates by default through government IDs, social security numbers, bank accounts, and registrations.
It's where you hold legal title, meaning you appear to own something, but the government ultimately controls it.
The private trust, on the other hand, is where lawful ownership lives outside of public jurisdiction, governed by contract, not statute.
When you create a private trust, you shift from being the property to being the trustee.
You become the one in control.
That's why the wealthy move everything, homes, vehicles, businesses, even intellectual property, into trusts and foundations.
They stop owning and start managing.
Because the one who owns can be sued, taxed, and controlled.
But the one who manages through a trust operates above the reach of the public system.
How you were placed in the game.
When you were born, your birth certificate created a trust in your name.
Your parents became the grantors, unknowingly signing you into a legal structure they didn't understand.
The state became the trustee.
And you, the living man or woman, were declared the beneficiary.
Sounds innocent, right?
Until you realize that beneficiaries have no control.
From that point on, the system manages you, your name, your property, your labor as trust property.
Every time you register, apply, or sign in, all caps, you reaffirm that status.
You keep showing up as the property, not the proprietor.
How the elite play.
The powerful play the opposite side of that same game.
They create private trusts and foundations, assigning their wealth, land, and corporations into those structures.
They never hold anything personally.
When they're sued, the trust isn't.
When they die, the trust doesn't.
When taxes rise, the trust stands outside the reach of public claim.
They've simply learned how to use the system's own rules against itself.
You think they're breaking the law, but they're not.
They're following a higher one, trust law.
Because the law of trusts predates modern governments.
It's ancient, rooted in ecclesiastical and commercial principles going back hundreds of years.
That's why governments use it, because it supersedes ordinary statutes.
Becoming the trustee of your own life.
Here's the truth.
You can't fight a system built on trust, but you can reposition yourself within it.
When you start to act as the trustee of your own estate, not the beneficiary, everything changes.
The trustee has authority.
The trustee gives orders.
The trustee enforces terms.
It's not about rebellion or evasion, it's about standing correctly in law.
Because the moment you recognize that your legal name is a trust entity and you are the living trustee managing that estate, you stop begging for permission and start giving notice.
You stop applying for rights you already have.
You begin to speak the language of authority, terms, conditions, contracts.
Trust, the quiet law of the powerful.
Everywhere you look, the trust structure governs silently.
The Vatican operates under the Holy See Trust.
Nations hold land in trust for the people.
Banks hold your deposits in trust for their own use.
The few who understand it rule over those who don't.
That's why the education system never teaches you trust law.
Because once you understand how it works, you begin to pull yourself out of their jurisdiction entirely.
You stop being a citizen of their trust and start being the executor of your own.
The takeaway.
You were never meant to live as property.
You were meant to administer property.
That's the secret they hide in plain sight.
All control flows through the law of trusts.
Understand it, and you begin to rewrite your status in the ledger.
Ignore it, and the system keeps writing it for you.
The game doesn't end. It just changes players.
And it's time to move your piece to the other side of the board.
Chapter 4. The Power of Structure.
People think power comes from money.
It doesn't.
Power comes from structure, from how you position what you control.
Money flows through structure.
Authority exists because of structure.
And protection, real protection, is only possible through structure.
That's why the elite don't fear lawsuits, taxes, or governments.
They built a web of structures so strong that the system itself bows to it.
The layers of power.
You see the billionaire.
You see the corporation.
But what you don't see are the layers of legal armor between them and the world.
At the top sits a foundation or private trust, often untouchable by public jurisdiction.
Beneath that sits a holding company, managing ownership of multiple entities.
Below that, a series of limited liability companies, each isolating risk from the others.
The structure looks like a pyramid, but it's built upside down.
At the base is the activity, the business that earns, the property that produces, the assets that move.
But every level above that separates the individual from liability, shielding them from exposure.
That's how the wealthy play.
They don't own anything, but they control everything.
Control versus ownership.
Ownership is the illusion.
Control is the reality.
The one who owns carries the risk, taxes, claims, seizures.
The one who controls through legal structure carries none of those burdens.
That's why corporations are called entities.
They are masks, legal persons that stand between the real you and the public world.
Governments understand this.
They exist as trusts and corporations themselves.
They separate the human from the liability through paperwork, statutes, and jurisdiction.
You can do the same, lawfully and intelligently.
The wealthy don't pay taxes, they play positions.
You hear people say the rich don't pay taxes.
That's not entirely true.
They redirect taxes.
When you own income in your personal name, you are the taxpayer, the debtor.
But when your assets sit inside a properly structured trust or private foundation, you are no longer the taxpayer, the entity is.
And entities don't pay taxes the same way people do.
They move income through contracts, loans, royalties, management fees, and charitable contributions.
They operate within rules written for those who understand how to structure their world.
It's not magic.
It's positioning.
The law protects structure.
In public law, an individual is fragile, exposed to lawsuits, audits, and court orders.
But in trust law, the trust is sovereign.
It exists as a separate legal being, operating in the private domain, governed by contract.
When your affairs are structured through trusts, you no longer own, you administer.
And administrators can only be challenged through breach of trust, not by public demand.
That's why banks, churches, and governments are untouchable.
They act as trustees.
They hold everything for the benefit of others.
It's a language of power, and the law respects it.
The pyramid of protection.
Think of it like this.
At the top, your private trust or foundation
Holds the ultimate authority.
exists outside of public jurisdiction.
Controls all subordinate entities.
In the middle, your holding company or trustee entity
Manages investments, businesses, and assets.
creates contracts and oversees operations.
At the bottom, operating companies or asset vehicles.
Own property, conduct business, generate income.
Contain risk within themselves.
If one layer gets attacked, the others remain intact.
You've divided risk and multiplied protection.
The structure itself becomes your shield.
The art of layers.
The reason structure matters is because every level adds a new jurisdiction.
Each entity you create defines a new boundary.
A lawsuit filed against a business cannot touch the trust that owns it.
A tax assessed on a corporation does not extend to the trustee personally.
A debt attached to one entity does not cross over to another, unless you let it.
That's how privacy and protection coexist.
The public sees activity, not ownership.
The system sees compliance, not exposure.
And through every layer, you remain the unseen hand, directing the play without ever stepping on the stage.
The middle class trap.
The middle class is taught to own.
Own a car.
Own a house.
Own a business.
Ownership sounds empowering, but it's a trap.
When you own something in your personal name, you're wide open.
One lawsuit, one tax lien, one legal claim, and everything you thought was yours can be taken.
Meanwhile, those who appear to own nothing, the elite, the institutions, the dynasties, hold everything through structures that never die.
Because trusts don't age.
Foundations don't go bankrupt.
Corporations don't get sick or emotional.
They are immortal masks that outlive generations.
That's why dynasties survive.
That's why old money never fades.
They built structures that carry power through time.
The blueprint of the private world.
The private world doesn't operate on ownership. It operates on trusteeship.
A private trust can hold title to land, operate businesses, collect income, and pass wealth through generations, all without probate, taxation, or exposure to public claim.
The trust doesn't exist to hide. It exists to preserve.
When you start to think in structure, you stop playing the short game of ownership and start playing the long game of legacy.
The moment you understand that everything the public sees is just the outer shell of a deeper legal structure, you realize how little authority the public world actually has.
They control what they can see.
The private controls what it conceals.
The power of the invisible.
The most powerful entities in the world aren't the ones making noise.
They're the ones you've never heard of. Private trusts, secret foundations, family offices that quietly move trillions without headlines or elections.
The world's wealth is not stored in banks.
It's stored in structure.
And the greatest secret of all is that anyone can begin learning the same framework once they step out of ignorance and into administration.
The lesson.
Structure is the true weapon of freedom.
Without it, you are property.
With it, you become the architect.
Because the world doesn't reward effort.
It rewards position.
And the higher your structure, the fewer hands can reach you.
The powerful don't own the game.
They built it one trust at a time.
To access this ebook and for more information, contact
at glgse7en@gmail.com. Free yourself today. We're excited to provide you with access to the most up-to-date technology and research that have successfully helped numerous individuals in the past. We're confident that they can do the same for you. Please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions or concerns. We highly recommend reviewing our information packet, which contains cutting-edge and proven knowledge. We believe that access to this information is important for everyone, and we encourage you to share it with your friends and family.